The last courier of London, when the message must not die, London was wrapped in a dense fog that night. The kind that made street lamps seem like distant stars struggling to pierce the darkness. Somewhere in the heart of the city, a small, nondescript office hummed with activity that few could ever imagine. This was MI6’s communications hub, where every whisper of intelligence was a thread in a vast, unseen tapestry. For the last courier, a young operative named Elias Parker. The night held a singular, urgent purpose, a message that could shift the delicate balance of European intelligence. Elias, barely 29, had trained in silence, in the art of moving unnoticed through the arteries of a city alive with tension. The message he carried was encrypted with a code designed to be unbreakable, a lifeline between agents scattered across multiple nations. Even the routine check-ins at MI6 were conducted with ritual precision, security clearances confirmed, identities cross-verified. Yet nothing in the official logs hinted at the true weight of the information he now held. Outside, London's streets whispered secrets of their own. Shadows stretched long against brick walls, and fog-shrouded alleyways became both sanctuary and threat. Elias's route was meticulously planned. The Midnight Dispatch was not merely a courier run-it, was a symphony of calculated moves, diversions, and backup contingencies. Every turn, every pause, every glance behind a corner had been rehearsed countless times. Yet even preparation could not account for the unpredictability of human observation. In the intelligence world, the value of a single courier was immeasurable. Elias understood this instinctively. One slip, one misstep, and the delicate chain of communication that MI6 relied upon could fracture. His mission that night was emblematic of the agency's broader strategy. Information must flow, invisibly, untraceable, and above all, alive. The Midnight Dispatch was more than an assignment. It was the lifeblood of operations spanning continents, where a single message could alter alliances, prevent disasters, or avert exposures. As he moved through the streets, blending seamlessly with the city's nocturnal rhythm, every shadow seemed both friend and foe. The Thames, silvered under the faint glow of lamps, mirrored his careful pace, each step calculated to avoid recognition. MI6’s unseen network, stretching from London to distant embassies and covert operatives, relied on men like Elias, ordinary faces hiding extraordinary responsibility. By the time he reached the first checkpoint, a silent signal confirmed that the initial transfer point was secure. No words were spoken, none were needed. Every operative along the route knew their part. Choreography perfected over decades, the legacy of countless couriers before him. The Midnight Dispatch had begun. The message, a seemingly small bundle of paper, carried the weight of strategy, of lives, and of secrecy. Its safe arrival was paramounted for glory, not for recognition. But because the Midnight Dispatch had set Elias Parker into motion, yet London was a city of eyes and whispers. Beneath the fog and flickering street lamps, the Thames wound silently, a mirror reflecting the secrets of the night. This river, ever present and deceptively calm, had long served MI6 as both shield and passageway for information too sensitive to risk on the streets. Every wharf, every dock, every shadow along the water had its role in a network carefully woven over decades. Elias moved with a practiced ease, avoiding the main roads where patrols and random watchmen could observe. The real paths, the hidden routes, were known to few. A narrow service alley beside a shuttered warehouse led him to the riverbank, where a small, inconspicuous boat awaited, tethered loosely as if abandoned. In MI6’s world, nothing was ever left to chance. The boat was equipped with concealed compartments for documents, false bottoms to hide the most critical messages, and silent oars that glided almost imperceptibly through water. The journey along the Thames was more than a simple transit. Each bend of the river had been mapped, photographed, and memorized. Under the cover of fog, Elias's boat slipped past patrols, streetlights, and the occasional watchful fisherman, moving with a rhythm that seemed natural, almost unnoticeable. Yet the river's surface was treacherous. Case unseen currents could expose a careless movement, a sudden splash, a trace of disturbance. Every ounce of focus was necessary. One misstep, and the message, the culmination of weeks of planning and intelligence, could fall into the wrong hands. As he navigated past deserted docks and abandoned piers, Elias's mind worked in tandem with his training. He imagined the city above him, layered with the hum of life that was oblivious to the invisible operations beneath. The shadows along the Thames were not merely obstacles, they were guides, markers for safe passage and indicators of potential danger. A distant figure on the riverbank could be a civilian or a threat. Every motion had to be assessed and, if necessary, avoided. MI6’s unseen operatives relied on precision and discretion. The same shadows that concealed danger also ensured the delivery of vital intelligence. Minutes felt like hours as the boat moved quietly, guided by experience and instinct. At a hidden transfer point beneath an old bridge, Elias handed over the message to another operative, just as the first signs of dawn began to pale the night sky. The operation was seamless, yet each courier knew that perfection was never guaranteed. The next leg of the journey awaited, and the message, still unseen by anyone outside the network, continued its silent voyage. The Thames had once again proven itself a lifeline for secrets, a conduit for the untraceable, a shadowed road where the success of MI6 operations was determined not by visibility, but by invisibility. Dawn had barely touched the edges of London when Elias Parker prepared for the most perilous stage of his mission. The midnight dispatch and the shadows of the Thames had been mere prelude. Now he would step into spaces where the line between ally and adversary blurred. Enemy territory was not a distant country in this instance, it was pockets of the city, controlled by factions unaware of MI6’s silent orchestration, yet capable of noticing a single anomaly, a lone courier out of place. Elias's route was a lattice of safe houses, disguised entrances, and couriers positioned like chess pieces. Each handoff was timed with precision, relying on subtle signals, a flick of a street lamp, the position of a trash can lid, a curtain swaying in rhythm. The intelligence network trusted in human instinct as much as strategy. The invisible hand of MI6 moved in silence, yet with unmatched coordination. Every operative along the route knew their role, yet none had complete visibility. The chain relied on trust, training, and the unseen bonds forged by necessity. The city's streets were waking now, yet the danger had not lessened. A single curious glance, a random passerby noticing an unusual gait or a pressed envelope beneath a coat, could unravel the delicate thread. Elias moved like a shadow, steps measured, eyes alert. He passed through narrow lanes and forgotten courtyards, each step guided by knowledge that every element in the environment could signal either safety or threat. His hand occasionally brushed the hidden compartment within his coat. The message, unassuming yet invaluable, was still intact. MI6 had trained its couriers not just in movement, but in perception. Elias could read patterns in foot traffic. hear the subtle shifts of conversations, and anticipate obstacles before they became tangible. Enemy eyes were everywhere, but nowhere at once. It was a game of timing, misdirection, and instinct. For Elias, every breath was a balance between caution and determination. The invisible hand of MI6 was not a myth. It was a living operation, enacted through ordinary people performing extraordinary tasks, veiled by the ordinary rhythm of daily life. At the next clandestine meeting point, a seemingly abandoned cafe tucked between two warehouses, Elias passed the message to another courier. No words were exchanged. Protocol dictated silence. The operation continued seamlessly, as if guided by an invisible force. Yet Elias felt the weight of the network he represented. Every message delivered, every secret preserved, depended on vigilance and precision. The message was no longer in his hands, but it had not yet reached safety. Its journey through enemy territory was far from over, and every invisible step maintained the fragile balance of secrecy, survival, and strategy that defined MI6’s legacy. The city had fully awakened, yet the corridors of MI6 remained alive with quiet precision. Every movement was deliberate, every glance measured. Because in the world of intelligence, silence was both shield and weapon. Elias Parker's previous handoffs had succeeded, yet the mission was far from over. Now, the message would travel through channels so discreet that its existence might never be acknowledged outside the agency. This was the code of silence, a doctrine written not in ink, but in discipline, trust, and invisible procedure. The next courier was a seasoned operative named Clara Whitmore. His reputation for navigating hostile environments was unmatched. She understood that the value of the message was not in its content alone, but in the fact that it must remain unseen, untouched, and undetectable. Each envelope, each microfilm, each coded line of instruction was carried without trace, designed to leave no evidence of movement, no hint of origin or destination. The streets, crowded with the oblivious populace, became an elaborate camouflage, a living mask for operations that few would ever know existed. Every step of the way, MI6’s network relied on protocols perfected over decades. Messages were divided, recombined, disguised within mundane objects: a book, a briefcase, even a simple parcel. Observers, had they been present, would have seen only ordinary actions. Everyday movements devoid of any hint that secrets of monumental importance were being ferried past them. Yet behind the ordinary lay meticulous planning, alternative routes, backup couriers, coded rendezvous, and contingency measures should the first plan fail. The code of silence required both ingenuity and unwavering composure, for a single slip could compromise not just one mission, but entire operations. Clara moved with practiced ease, slipping through side streets, alleys, and quiet doorways. Each step was synchronized with the invisible choreography of the MI6 network. Every potential witness was accounted for, every risk mitigated. The message was more than intelligence, it was a lifeline, and its safe delivery was paramount. No one spoke. No one left a trace. The city itself seemed to conspire in concealment. MI6’s success depended on this seamless invisibility, an orchestra of unseen hands working in unison to carry secrets across a web of danger, observation, and uncertainty. By nightfall, the message had traversed miles of cityscape without detection, passing through hands that adhered strictly to the code of silence. Each operative understood the stakes. This was a world where the absence of evidence was proof of success. where the preservation of secrecy defined the triumph of an agency that operated in the shadows. The message continued its journey, unseen, untouched, untraceable. Yet more vital than ever, a testament to MI6's enduring mastery of silent, invisible power. The night air was sharp with the promise of danger as Elias Parker prepared for the final leg of his mission. The streets of London had grown quieter, yet the weight of unseen eyes pressed on every movement. This was the point where skill met risk, where every precaution could still be undone by a single misstep. The final crossing was aptly named, was not merely a physical passage, but a test of nerve, judgment, and unwavering focus. Elias's route led him to a bridge spanning the Thames, a crossing long known to MI6 as both a lifeline and a potential trap. Patrols, civilians, and the possibility of surveillance all converged here, turning an ordinary bridge into a gauntlet. The message he carried, though small, was immense in consequence. In his coat, hidden beneath layers of fabric and secrecy, it remained untouched, impervious to discovery, yet vulnerable to the unforeseen hazards of the night. Each step across the bridge was calculated, timed to the rhythm of the city's subtle movements. Footfalls echoed faintly on the stone, masked by the distant hum of night traffic and the gentle ripple of the river below. Elias paused briefly, assessing the environment. Any shadow out of place, any flicker of light that did not belong, could indicate the presence of a watcher. The weight of the mission was matched only by his training, which had taught him that instinct and observation were as vital as strategy. At the midpoint, the bridge seemed endless, a corridor suspended between safety and exposure. Elias's mind ran through contingencies, every possible route for evasion, every signal for emergency extraction memorized and ready. He understood that the mission's success depended not on luck, but on precision, the perfect alignment of timing, discretion, and courage. One wrong glance or hesitated step could compromise not only the message, but the entire network of couriers, operatives, and intelligence that MI6 had painstakingly maintained. Finally, reaching the far side, Elias entered a narrow lane that led to a safe house. There, a fellow operative awaited, ready to receive the message without a word exchanged. The final crossing had been completed, and the intelligence remained secure, intact, and unseen. It was a moment defined by silence, by invisible triumph, by the quiet heroism of a courier who carried not just paper, but the lifeblood of MI6 operations. Every risk had been mitigated through skill, training, and an unwavering commitment to secrecy, proving that even in the shadows of a city like London, courage and discipline could ensure that the message would not die. The safe house was silent, yet the tension in the air was palpable. Elias Parker had crossed the city, navigated enemy territory, and completed the final crossing. But the mission was not truly complete until the message reached its final destination. Delivering the unseen was the ultimate test of MI6's operational mastery and orchestration of patience, precision, and the unseen threads that held the network together. Inside the dimly lit room, the envelope changed hands with practiced ease. Clara Whitmore, the courier who had carried it through hostile streets, handed it to a senior operative whose presence alone commanded quiet authority. There were no words exchanged, no unnecessary gestures. The message, though invisible to the world, represented countless hours of intelligence work, international coordination, and the silent bravery of those who operated in shadows. Every micro-step of the journey had been critical. Every unseen act, a testament to discipline, training, and unwavering resolve. London hummed unknowingly. The city's familiar noises, the clatter of trams, the distant voices of night workers, the soft ripple of the Thames masked the operations unfolding within its heart. MI6's network, extensive yet invisible, depended on this seamless integration of ordinary life and extraordinary responsibility. Operatives like Elias and Clara were not just couriers. They were living instruments of secrecy, ensuring that information vital to national security moved without trace, without exposure, and without fail. The final recipient carefully secured the message within MI6’s archives. The culmination of an operation that stretched across the city, across risks, and across invisible boundaries of danger. In a world driven by observation, the agency had succeeded precisely by remaining unseen. The mission had been perilous, each step a negotiation with chance and circumstance. Yet the result was absolute. The intelligence survived intact, untraceable, and ready to influence outcomes far beyond the streets of London. Elias Parker stepped back into the night, his role concluded, but his presence unnoticed, as intended. The message now delivered symbolized more than information. It embodied the quiet triumphs that sustained MI6’s legacy, the unseen victories that shaped strategy and safeguarded nations. In this realm of shadows and silence, success was measured not in recognition, but in the unwavering certainty that the mission was complete. The last courier of London had fulfilled his purpose, proving that in the world of covert operations, the unseen hand was often the most powerful of all.